We would like to deal with our Commissioner candidate today, which would be great. So we are willing to give up our first time slot to the Liberals to make sure they have an opportunity to speak, ask questions, and then we'll have back to our regular round. So two NDP, or an NDP Liberal, then NDP, then back to us, and we'll see what time we have after that.
Well, thank you, Mr. Wallace, for the spirit of cooperation in light of the truncated time frame that we have. We want to give ample time to Ms. Robinson to introduce herself to the committee, and then that would leave us with one round for the Liberals, one round for the Conservatives, and 2 rounds for the NDP. If the bell should begin to ring, we really are duty-bound to quickly put the matter to a vote and conclude the meeting at that time. Are we in agreement?
If it's 30-minute bells, then won't the bells start in 15 minutes?
It is 30-minute bells. We're reluctant to set the precedent of going beyond the bells, although with unanimous consent of the committee, we can do anything we want.
Okay.
Seeing as we're dealing with not a very controversial matter, it may be the will of the committee to go beyond the bells for a few minutes while we deal with the matter, but we would like to conclude the matter in this one committee meeting. Having said that, we don't want to waste any time, so we will welcome Ms. Anne-Marie, any more time. Ms. Robinson, the floor is yours, and welcome.
Mr.
Chairman and honourable members, thank you very much for inviting me here today. I'm pleased to be able to discuss my nomination as President of the Public Service Commission of Canada, a unique institution with a remarkable history.
Passed legislation creating the first permanent commission responsible for safeguarding merit and nonpartisanship in the federal public service. Under the Public Service Employment Act, my nomination as President requires the approval of both the House of Commons and the Senate, and I value this meeting as an important part of the process. I also went through an exhaustive selection process, which I would be pleased to discuss today with the members. I'm honored to be recommended for this position, and if I am confirmed, I look forward to bringing to my work a deep respect for Parliament, a good understanding of the Public Service Commission, and a good understanding of human resource management. I also bring my recent experience as a senior executive in a large operational department and a profound sense of pride in the work that I do on behalf of Canadians as a public servant. I also am committed to excellence and looking for innovative ways to continually improve how the Commission fulfills its mandate, and I'm both humbled and happy to have the opportunity to return to the Commission. My first job at the Commission was Director General Policy at a time when we were moving forward with policy initiatives to modernize human resource management in the public service. And I'm proud to have supported Parliament's work on the legislative reforms that eventually became the current Public Service Employment Act in 2003. Those changes had significant impacts on the Public Service Commission. When I later became Vice President of the Corporate Management Branch, I was pleased to help develop a stronger oversight role in a fully delegated staffing system, a new political activities regime, and a new approach for the delivery of its staffing and assessment services. The Commission put in place corporate systems and structures to support this transformation, for instance in the areas of communications, governance, and protocols for reporting to Parliament. I worked closely with Mrs. Barados in building these systems, and I'm happy to see that they are still in place. I have spent the last 3 years at Health Canada as Assistant Deputy Minister, First Nations and Inuit Health, and more recently as Associate Deputy Minister. There, I was responsible for overseeing regional operations and played a key role in managing its investment planning and performance management. Throughout my career, I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to have both worked on the policy side as well as to have managed large programs and dealt with complex issues. I've seen firsthand the role that recruiting and staffing play in the delivery of health care to First Nations and Inuit and other vital services for Canadians. As well, I've learned the importance of working with stakeholders and building relationships based on mutual trust and respect.
I would now like to speak about the mandate and activities of the Public Service Commission. The Public Service Employment Act sets out a staffing system based on values, where deputy heads have greater responsibilities. The Commission fulfills its mandate by delegating staffing to deputy heads, providing clear policy direction to support delegation, conducting effective oversight, and delivering innovative services. The PSC protects the values of fairness, access, representativeness, and transparency. I feel that these are fundamental values. The Commission is responsible for identifying and eliminating barriers in recruitment and staffing with the continued objective of promoting a public service that is more representative of Canadian society. The Commission also contributes to maintaining a bilingual public service that respects Canada's 2 official languages. I have the privilege of working in an organization where bilingualism is well established. I strongly encourage everyone to interact with me in the language of their choice. I am very aware of the Commission's responsibility to report to Parliament on its activities and on the health of the staffing system. Mrs. Barrados made an important contribution towards establishing productive relations with Parliament. I hope to have the opportunity to work together with Parliament to review the budget documents, annual reports, and any other issue of interest. I also look forward to participating in the discussions on the Public Service Modernization Act report recently tabled by the President of Treasury Board. I would now like to discuss the priorities I foresee for the Commission. In a delegated system, the Commission needs effective oversight to ensure that values are respected. This system requires sound analysis based on objective data, studies, audits, and investigations. The Commission will be called upon to deliver its mandate while looking for ways to better utilize its centralized data. In the coming months, the PSC will be called upon to provide ongoing support to organizations as they undertake the implementation of their deficit reduction plans. I realize that this period will be difficult for both organizations and employees. If I am confirmed, as President, I plan to provide deputy heads and employees with a priority administration system that functions soundly and to support selection processes that are transparent and fair. I am also committed to working closely with our human resource partners. I intend to collaborate with the commissioners once they are nominated in order to pursue the work already undertaken by Mrs. Barrados. The role of the Commission in regard to staffing values will be critical. Employment equity and official languages are also important issues. These issues will need to be kept in balance while the deficit reduction plan is being implemented. At the same time, the public service will need to continue to conduct targeted recruitment to ensure that the public service of the future has a skilled workforce that can deliver results for Canadians.
The Public Service Commission has played a vital role in creating a public service that is a model for many countries. If confirmed as President of the Public Service Commission, I look forward to working with this committee, your fellow parliamentarians, as well as PSC commissioners. I would as well say that I deeply value the dedication and professionalism of the employees who work at the Commission, and I look forward to working with them in carrying out this mandate. I am also committed to fostering strong relationships with all stakeholders, departments, as well as bargaining agents, so that Canadians will continue to benefit from a public service that is both professional and nonpartisan. Thank you very much, and I'd be very pleased to answer your questions.
Thank you, Madam Robinson. That's for your introductory remarks. We've just learned that we're good until 4:08, so I believe the order of questioning should be just about perfect. But without any delay, we'll introduce Alexandra Boulouris for the first 5 minutes of questioning. Alexandra, the floor is yours.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon, Ms. Robinson. Thank you for appearing before us today. I would like to congratulate you and thank you for making your presentation in both official languages. It's important to the NDP. That being said, since last May, since the Conservative government has had its majority, that there have been partisan nominations that have really upset the opposition. I know that's beyond your mandate, but you know that former candidates that are appointed to UNESCO or the Senate, what about Winnipeg North? There's people working for Madame Agoclac. There's people who are former candidates working for James Marr. There were others who were. We have candidates from Langueuil, Pierre Boucher, who was appointed to the National Pardon Commission. There is another candidate who was appointed to the Quebec City Port Authority. Another was nominated to an employment board, and a candidate for Welland was also appointed to a board. Then there are other members that have been appointed to various immigration and refugee boards. So what are you going to do as a new president to ensure that this type of partisan nomination, which is even part and parcel of your mandate, can in fact be excluded? Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the question. Perhaps I could begin by saying that the Commission has a role to be nonpartisan in the public service. So for this mandate, it is important that we strike a balance between the rights of officials to participate in political activities and the need for each official to be able to participate, or rather, to do their work in an impartial way. So we also have the capacity or a mandate to investigate if there are allegations, if necessary, and we will take corrective measures. But we have to look at each situation on a case-by-case basis, and it's only the activities of officials that come and who are in the employ of the public service. Thank you, Mrs. Robinson. Your predecessor, Maria Barrados, in testimony back in March of 2011, said that there is no guarantee that the nominations made for important government positions are necessarily based on merit, that partisanship can enter into play. I fear that there will be. I think I'm going to use the time remaining to ask you a question about freedom of expression of federal senior officials. We know that last July, Mr. Sheikh left StatsCan because Mr. Clement decided to do away with the long-form census, and that more recently the chief economist, Mr. Cross, left his position because he said that he could no longer express his opinion freely and independently. What do you intend to do in this type of situation? Thank you for the question. Perhaps I could clarify the mandate that I have under the Public Service Employment Act and what happens to senior officials and for those who have left the public service. I don't think the Commission has a mandate to monitor the situation. But in future, what do you intend to do to ensure that these unfortunate situations don't repeat themselves? The Commission is mandated. On our website, we have tools that enable all public servants to understand their responsibilities and their obligations. So I would encourage officials to use these tools to see whether or not they are able to maintain this nonpartisanship, and obviously it depends on the type of role that they play in the public service as well, and the very nature of the political activity that they wish to engage in. It is our role to provide advice to each official or employee, and we would encourage employees to use the tools to see whether or not they are in a conflict of interest position.
Powell with the Liberals.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Robinson, for being with us today. You probably heard that story a week or so ago about 6 public servants from Citizenship and Immigration effectively masquerading as new Canadians in a media appearance, a citizenship ceremony. Given your responsibility for, I guess I could say, the professionalism of the public service, do you have any comments on the appropriateness of that situation?
I can't comment directly on the situation because it hasn't been brought to the attention of the Commission. I obviously have seen things about that in the newspaper. There is public servants can come forward, or if people have concerns, they can bring those concerns forward to the Commission. If there is a concern that a public servant has been involved in political activities, and the Commission can look at those things. I don't have a lot more information about that particular event.
Okay. The next question is about order and council appointments. Now, your predecessor, when questioned by us, did indicate some concern that the Public Service Commission didn't have any role in order and council appointments. And also she expressed the opinion that if the position was advertised as being bilingual and then the government wished to appoint someone who was not bilingual, that they should restart the whole process, because obviously if others who were unilingual had known before that unilingual person was acceptable, those others might have applied. So I guess my question is twofold, whether you agree or not with your predecessor's concerns over order and council appointments falling outside your mandate, and also whether you agree that in the circumstance I described, the whole hiring process should have been restarted.
The nominations by governing council are not under the mandate of the Public Service Commission. What I can say is that I can speak about how appointments are done under the Public Service Employment Act. I'm not as familiar as to how the nominations are done for governor and council appointments. And I think, as the former president said, the nominations under the Public Service Employment Act are based on the fact that a person must meet the qualifications and must meet merit. And there's 2 parts to merit. There's essential qualifications and asset qualifications. And under essential qualifications, the candidate must meet all of those qualifications.
So at least in the case of appointments that do come under your jurisdiction, if the position was advertised as requiring bilingualism, you wouldn't hire a person who was not bilingual, or if they wanted to, you'd have to restart the process saying that the position did not require a bilingual person. Is that right?
Under the Public Service Employment Act, someone must meet all of the essential qualifications for the position. And if there's not, then the process is normally declared unproductive, and then the department has the chance to go out and relaunch a competition.
Okay. Last question. We are in a period where there are likely to be significant cuts announced in the upcoming budget. We don't know exactly what, but it appears they may be substantial. I guess that poses a special challenge for you. And I guess my question is, how do you ensure that the public service remains effective and professional and meritorious, merit-based, in an environment of potentially significant reductions in the size of the public service?
Thank you very much for the question. We have 2 key roles to play during the transition that the government will face during the Deficit Reduction Action Plan. The first one is that the Commission is responsible for a policy called Selection for Retention, and in cases where departments have to downsize their workforce, then that is the policy, which is a merit-based policy that departments will use to determine who will be retained. And it is a merit-based process, and we must ensure that it's applied in a fair and transparent way. So that's a very key role that the Commission must play. And since I arrived in my job, I've very much focused on supporting departments and human resource specialists so that we can send lots of information out about this policy and apply it appropriately. And the second thing that's really important is the Commission is responsible for the priority administration system. And that's the system that employees who are declared surplus, they will use that system for the period of time that they're on the priority system to find jobs for which they're qualified. And if I could also add, looking to the future, notwithstanding that we're going through this period of adjustment, I think it's really critical that we have an eye to the future and we continue to do some targeted recruitment in areas where we, over the short term, have shortages, and we need to think about, in the long term, ensuring that we sustain our capacity as a public service.
Thank you very much.
We're well over time. Thank you very much. And this time only, we're going back to the NDP then. Matthew Ravenette, 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mrs. Robinson, for being here. I have an English question.
Madame Bardos recommended the implementation of a code of conduct for ministerial staff, something that on our side the NDP find particularly important. We remember cases like Sébastien Tognery interfering with the good work of access to information staff. And of course, we can't forget Bruce Carson, the case of Bruce Carson. If everybody needed a rule book, it'd certainly be him. So here's my question. What plans do you have to ensure that your staff will move forward with this worthwhile project that is a code of conduct for ministerial staff?
Thank you for the question. I'm not sure that the code of conduct for ministerial staff is something that is within the jurisdiction of the Commission to do, because the Commission's role relates to staffing and political impartiality within the federal public service. We do have a role, though, where political staff, after a certain period of time, if they want to re-enter the public service, then I don't know the process exact because I'm new at the Commission and I don't know all of the technical details, but there is a process that the Commission follows up on where after a period of time people can make an application to be eligible to apply for jobs in the public service. And we assist them with that. And then we look at those situations.
Okay, well, je vais passer à ma deuxième question. Comme vous le savez.
My second question, as you know better than I do, you're responsible for the priority administration system for those who are going to be displaced within the public service. And as you know, we're in a budget restriction time, so the cutbacks will be felt on the staffing system, specifically the staffing system. So for the employees in the public service, which are going to be facing reductions. So given this context, when we're talking about this priority administration system, what do you intend to do to help these employees? Thank you for your question. I'm very aware of the fact that when this deficit reduction plan is being implemented, this will be very difficult for employees. This is why it's important that we improve our priority system, and I'm going to ensure that the system runs properly. So that we can support employees that are declared surplus and help them find jobs for which they are qualified. It's our job at the Commission to ensure that we can support employees that need to look for positions. I wish you good luck because this is going to be a very competitive process. One final question. As you know, there have been cutbacks in second language teaching at the public service, something that's a source of concern for most Francophones throughout the country. So I'm wondering there is this tendency to turn towards consultants or contractors to do this type of thing, to contract out. What do you think about this tendency in the public service? We are responsible for the official language testing. During a period of change, the Commission will continue monitoring the success rates for each test to see if there is in fact a difference in the success rates. What's the difference between using the private sector rather than using the public service school for when it comes to language teachers? Would you agree that the public system, that is to ensure that there are evaluations that are not that are impartial, that it is not as secure if you go out to the private sector to do this? I can tell you that the Commission is responsible for developing all of the tests that are going to be used to assess second languages. Who will be doing the evaluation? Will it be the Commission, or will it be the person, the contractor, the person who's got the contract? Could you please repeat the question? Who's going to assess the skills or the test? Will it be the Commission, or will it be the person who's got the contract? The Commission develops the test, so it's the Commission is going to be the one that administers the test for each public servant. And we're going to be monitoring the success rate as well. Thank you very much.
And for the Conservatives, Mr. Jacques Gourde, 5 minutes. Jacques.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for coming here today. I'd like to congratulate you on your level of bilingualism. You seem to be very fluent. That's great. Our government has made nominations. We appointed a former NDP premier as an ambassador to the United States. We even appointed a former Liberal minister to a position because our philosophy is to get the best Canadian for the job based on merit. Do you think, regardless of someone's political stripes, do you think it is important that the best Canadians, the most highly qualified Canadians, be given the position when they're available? Can we take them regardless of their political stripes? Thank you for your question. I can say that according to the Public Service Employment Act, it is very important that all appointments be based on the principle of merit. And when it comes to staffing positions under the Act, I think it's always good to have a selection process and that there be a clear statement of qualifications and of the job to be done. And we need diverse qualified selection boards. Thank you. As you know, in the public service right now, there are people who are about to take their retirement. They've hit retirement age. Do you think that the attrition rate may be useful, given that there may be some cutbacks in jobs in the public service? Thank you for your question. Yes. The fact that we have to reduce the size of the public service, coupled with the fact that there are public servants who are close to retirement age, it may enable us to be in a better position to absorb those employees whose jobs have been cut. That will create more space where they can be more easily absorbed. I'm talking here about younger people or who will be working for longer periods of time in the public service. As I just said, there are people who are leaving, but we're going to have to replace these people with a new generation of public servants. Are you paying special attention to young people who may want to enter the public service? And how are you going to recruit these people at the universities? How are you going to get them to want to join the public service? You asked a question that is so important. Even though we're going through a transition period reduction period, it is still very important that the public service continue recruiting. And even though we're going through a transition period, there are some groups where there's a scarcity, such as financial officers and nurses, other types of occupations. This is where we're going to have to continue hiring young people. And we will also continue our recruiting campaigns at the university and also at colleges. You've been at the Commission for a month now. Oh, over the next 100 days, what will be your priorities? As far as I'm concerned, my biggest priority is that I have to support departments and employees in order to implement this deficit reduction plan. I'm going to be working closely with our partners, our human resource partners. I'm going to ensure that everything is done clearly. And as I said, the priority administration system has got to work properly. I'm going to use technology and centralized data in order to have a staffing system that is more effective. And as far as the administrative burden is concerned, I think we need to improve some staffing processes so that we can have systems that work more effectively. How are you going to promote the 2 official languages? Thank you for your question. On a personal level, I will continue speaking French, and I'll work with all my teams in French. But within the public service, the Commission plays an important role. As I already said, we're responsible for the testing system. We're going to be monitoring the success rate. And should public servants be appointed to positions, it is our role to ensure that all the public servants attain their language, get their language scores up and meet requirements. This is very important, and to ensure that employees can work in the language of choice. So these are all important roles to play at the Commission.
Concludes the time we have set aside for the examination of the nomination for your job to the position. We're just under the wire here. I see Mr. Wallace has
an official motion if you'd like, and then we can have a little debate on it if need be.
We would welcome the appropriate motion if you have it there.
Yeah, I wrote it out. It's appropriate. It's going to get, I think. The Standing Committee on Government Operations and Estimates supports the nomination of Anne-Marie Robinson for the position of President of the Public Service Commission of Canada.
If I could ask Mr. Wallace if you would add that, and that the chair shall report the same to the House.
And that the chair reports this to the House.
You've heard the motion. Is there a seconder to the motion? We have a seconder. Is there any debate on the motion? Hearing none, we will put the question. All those in favor of the motion as put, hands down. Opposed, if any? It appears to be unanimous. Congratulations, Ms. Robinson. It appears our committee is satisfied with the interview that we've conducted today, and congratulations. We will report the same to the House of Commons tomorrow, and we wish you the very best as this proceeds.
Thank you very much for the time to be here today.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
That concludes our, I believe we will have the bells in a moment. The motion to adjourn is non-debatable, therefore adjourned.